Hi there, it's Brian from Brian McManus Real Estate. It's week 4. How quickly our first month is almost gone. We're early starters, so we've spent a lot of time with buyers and also doing appraisals. A lot of the appraisals have come in at a different level to what we talked about in 2023. Excuse me, it's 36 degrees and you'll see a bit of sunscreen. I've got to put that on the skin at the moment. She's pretty warm. So anyway, back to what's going on. Very busy with appraisals, and yeah, the market has come back a wee bit on the properties, generally because the buyers can't raise finance, and they are struggling. They're getting involved with brokers, and brokers are basically dragging them around. They're requiring a lot of information. Certainly the accounts have to be certified, and no more. They won't accept spreadsheets or Excel accounts anymore. The banks just aren't touching them. So private funders are now very active. We've got a private funder now set up. Should the buyers not be able to get finance approved through their brokers, what we're finding is that some of the brokers are approving them to a level, and 2 or 3 days before the auction they're dropping that up to 20-25%. So it really does mean that our vendors have to have everything in order. We've got to have those contracts early. It was something we suffered from during 2023. The solicitors just, for whatever reason, were getting the contracts late. Buyers have to have about 2 weeks contracts and accounts to get their finance. So we've got buyers to buy your properties, but everything must be in order. We've had some properties with their accounts just not in order, and that just doesn't help anything. So we've got to have your accounts in order. They've got to be certified by your accountant who's an ACA or whatever. You just can't be a bookkeeper. So, and if you use a bookkeeper, we've got to get those accounts certified by an ACA. You've got to pay for that. Valuers, let's move straight on to the valuation. Get the valuers involved early. Even in the appraisal period, let's have a look at the valuers getting involved. If you don't agree with my appraisal price, remember, I appraise, they value. 2 totally different systems. You'll notice there are 3 valuers on my website. They, in 2023, were all approved for mortgage purposes. I have no business relationship with them. There's no referrals going out. They're just good valuers that over the years have worked. You know, one's got 30 years experience, the one out of Orange and so on. Look, the banks need those sorts of valuers, and I have to say, over the last few years, I haven't agreed with some of their valuations, but that's up to them. So I'm happy that you use the valuer right at the start to compare my appraisal. I do appraisals, valuers do valuations. Just if you don't agree with it, if I'm too low, if the market, because I'm in the market, the auction market, every 4 weeks, the market tells me what's going on. I'm not doing we're not presenting one property to the market every few months, or maybe one offer comes in 12 months down the track. We're getting offers at the auction. So every bid is an unconditional offer. So if I get a bid at 3 million, then a bid at 3.1, and then a bid at 3.2, they are offers. And sometimes you underestimate that. The vendors can. They don't understand that all the marketing, all that hard work, we've got them there, and it's bona fide. 10% deposit. cash in 30 or 42 days, depending on what your solicitor has drawn into the contract. So these are bona fide buyers, and we had vendors walk away from these offers over 2023 to their own detriment because the market has dropped on those properties and we don't have those unconditional buyers. So let's talk about those buyers, shall we? Now, auction bidders that we're bringing to the market through our social media marketing, they're not just out there to buy a motel. They're out there to buy an investment, for instance. They might be looking at flats in Bondi. They might be looking at a motel at Merimbula. They don't have to buy the motel. They don't have to buy a pub in Glen Innes. They're purely looking at it from a investment situation. So what happens? They spend all the money to get the contracts, look at the accounts, work out, the management structures and things, come to the auction, they bid, and if they don't buy it, they go cold. So we've put them in a position of stress, and they generally leave the market for 6 to 12 months, or they'll go and buy something somewhere else, and not necessarily a motel. Most of the time, 90% of the time, the underbidders go and buy something other than hospitality. So that's the reality of the situation. They walk within 24 to 48 hours. So don't think that if you don't accept it on Friday that they'll be there on Monday, because they aren't. Anyway, moving right along. So that's the situation with the cash buyers we do get. Now, a couple of situations we had where I've taken properties on from other agents, and unfortunately they've had verbal offers at a very high range, way up here. So they've had these verbal offers that haven't been qualified. I go through the process of qualifying the buyer, so get them into 10% deposit, cash in 30 to 42 days, and unfortunately they're down here. If at all, sometimes they can't get the money that they've promised you or promised prior. So what they do is they set this high bar, and we get to auction and we're down here with the live bidding, and we just can't get there. For whatever reason, that's the market. This high verbal offer has stuffed the auction and the real market. So that buyer that wasn't qualified properly, wasn't asked for 10% deposit, wasn't asked to produce wherever they're getting their finance from. So they've set a unrealistic expectation for the vendor. The vendor gets the live market and doesn't come to the party. So just something to watch there. If you've had verbal offers, make sure they are bona fide verbal offers, and get your solicitor involved, get their solicitor involved, make sure they've got 10% deposit, get that transferred into a trust account. That's a real good indication of whether they're bona fide or not, because generally they run a mile the moment you put the heat on for a deposit. Moving right along. So we've talked about valuers, bank funding is down around 40% at the moment. That's what we're experiencing. Could be different out there for other agents, but that's what we're experiencing. Private funding's there. They'll fund you if you stack up as a buyer. We've got access to a really good private funder, legitimate private funder. They do require a valuer to go through the property. Registered valuer for mortgage purposes. Totally different to registered valuer. Okay, and there's not many around that'll do motels and hotels. So those three on my website, in 2023 we're still doing hotels, motels for mortgage purposes. So we do have private funding, but remember, they're going to be paying, if the buyer's coming in on private finance, they're paying 12 to 18%. It's gone quiet out there. So that limits the amount of money they can borrow. When you're not paying 7 or 8%, you're paying 12 to 18%. They simply can't service high sales or a high purchase. If your cash flow's not there, if your pub isn't doing 300,000 a year, 400,000 a year, if your motel's not doing 500 to 6 to 700,000 a year, they simply can't service the debt, and that is what your property is worth. How much? They can only borrow 40%. They've got to have these large deposits, and there's not a lot of people floating around with that money at the moment, other than people moving out of Sydney, Melbourne, mainly Sydney, with house sales. But once again, they are very, very picky at the moment. Standard terms, no more. Standard terms 30 to 42 days. Generally in our organisation, we're at 30 days. No reason we can't get settlements through. If there's licensing involved, there is a grace period. Obviously, you talk to the licensing, liquor licensing about that. Now, standard terms, no more rental periods after settlement, nominal rental fees and rental periods after settlement. That's just not going to happen anymore. You can't expect your buyer to go and raise a mortgage of whatever it is, 50%, and then you sit in there at $300 a week. Ain't going to happen. So from now on, our standard terms and conditions apply. No rental periods after settlement. And I think that's fair and reasonable. It's not happening in Resi. Didn't happen in ours until 2023. We had 3 or 4 last year, and no, we're not doing it anymore because they come unstuck. Deeds. We're not dealing with deeds. End of story. If you come to, as a buyer, wanting to do a deed and not, no, we're just not dealing with them. So try another agent. There might be other agents out there. 2023 with deeds wasn't a good year. So we've come to realisation that Brian McManus Real Estate will not be dealing with purchases, with deeds, companies with deeds, directors not on the company directors list and all that sort of stuff. So clean deals, 10% deposit, settlement in 30 to 42 days, no deeds, no nominal rental periods after settlement. I'm afraid that won't happen. So let's have that right up front now. And this is week 4, so we've only got a couple more weeks before we seal off for our February auction. And I believe, I'll just check. We are 23rd, Friday 23rd of February. That's our first one. And hopefully we'll be going live. We didn't go live this week. We tried it. Unfortunately, our where we were, our internet was a bit dodgy. Both Optus and Telstra. We are going to Starlink. Yeehaw, everybody. So Starlink, it will be our saving grace, they reckon, in 2024. That's what they've told me. I've been talked into it. So I think we'll be a good guinea pig for it because we're all over the state. Their mobile, they're guaranteeing me coverage. That'll be interesting. I'm sure I'll test it, but we haven't received the hardware yet. That was meant to come a couple of weeks ago. So no doubt that's got something to do with Christmas. So as soon as that's up and running, we'll have a bit more stability with our loading of ads and videos and things and communication, which will be great with the case we're doing. So anybody out there looking at selling in 2024, we're out on the road. So give us a call, 040 297 0217. Auctions in Sydney, Double Bay, New South Head Road. once a month. December's going to be, there's going to be 2 in December. We may have 2 in July as well, due to, it looks like we've got a couple of bottlenecks there with the stock coming through. So give us a call. We can certainly get these appraisals done and get the system underway. Your solicitors are going to need time to get the contracts together, but we do need those contracts and accounts certified and on my table as soon as possible, so the buyers do have time to get their act together and just get ready to bid. And we're having a once they're ready to bid, they're bidding. We're finding that almost 100% of our bidders, our bona fide bidders, are bidding at the auctions. So register, let's get the structure in place for the buyers to bid it, and your expectation. You just got to be realistic in this marketplace, that we want you to move on. There's no use you coming in with some overinflated expectation that, you know, for some reason, you know, we had a loss-making hotel that wanted an insane amount of money, between $2 and $3 million, and they were posting a loss. So that just ain't going to happen. We've got lots of pubs, 250 to 500, posting $100,000-$300,000 profits. So yeah, let's get realistic with our prices. We can sell them. We can get you your money so you can move on with your lives. That's what we're all talking about. That's what the auction process is for. Our marketing, we've got 30 to 50,000 people looking at our photos on Google a week, and that drives them to our website, drives them to our social media ads. They're all linked on Facebook, Instagram, and all those sorts of places, and also Google Maps and our website. So yeah, it's all interlinked. So give us a bell, as I said, or Brian at brianmcmanusrealestate.com, and our Telstra is 045 721 7925. Generally speaking, the 040 297 0217 is probably the best one to kick in. And my old mate hasn't been featuring, but here he is. Richie, you going to say hello? Oh, there he is. So, yep, he's ready to go. Give us a bell, give us an email, let's talk. You'll see our properties, our auction properties coming up this week. Thanks.